Evening all, welcome back to The Division. Now, we were talking about the incursions last time, and I think let's carry on that conversation. It's interesting because I think the incursions themselves potentially are going to be what I would have considered raids. Now, I never actually did a raid in Destiny. I gave up on that game well before I think raids came in. At least I think I did. I don't remember doing one. Maybe somebody will poke me and say, actually, you did, and it was this. But I like the idea of it. I like the fact that they're quite challenging, long-winded things. I do want that. I think the one thing I would say that I really enjoyed was running challenging missions with purple gear and not the best gear. Because my goodness, it was hard. It was really difficult. And I actually thought it was such a challenge. Now, this is the challenging mission we're showing you here. It's not that difficult, really. You just got to watch out for shotgunners because they're a bit crazy, and then you just have to be careful that And the thing is, because when you know where things spawn, and you know how things interact with the map, then you kind of find yourself saying, "Well, I know they're going to come through that door. Let's set up and kill them." Lol. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think after a while it would be good if it was a bit more random. I'd be curious to see that. Anyway, so I think the incursions thing could be interesting. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. I suspect there's going to be a lot of rage about it because it's not enough. But for me, I'm quite comfortable with it because it does sound like it's going to be some fun. I think also the gear sets are going to make the game interesting, as we discussed last time. But what will make the game even more interesting for me is supply drops. That requirement. Now, supply drops are nothing new to me. They are from H1Z1. They always induced a kind of, bowel emptying kind of fear when you were trying to secure one, because you never knew who was in those bushes, past them trees, shooting you with a sniper rifle. And I think that, again, will be the wonder of this game. So I do hope it's going to be good. I don't know how the mechanic's going to work. I think there's going to be a lot of issues with it, because I think it's just going to be, for example, alright, we've now got supply drops, therefore let's glitch 16 of our friends into a single instance of the Dark Zone. Oh look, we control the Dark Zone, no threat. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest problems. I don't think even they can do anything about that, so bit worried about that. I would like it if that becomes less of an issue. I know you can glitch at least 8 men in, so it really will just become 8 men v 8 men. And then if somebody does manage to get 12 or even 16 in, then, oh god. But there we go. I don't think there's anything you can do about that. I think you just have to accept that if you do that, then basically you're not very good at this game, because that just does mean that you can't even play the game normally to win your loots. But there we go. Now, I don't know what else will come with these supply drops. It would be nice if the odd gold came with it. But from what I can get, I do get the impression that these kind of predetermined fits seem to be where the future of this this kind of higher level game is going. Now, I don't mind that too much. I think that's quite cool. I think that also could be very useful. But it would be nice if you could actually pick and mix and choose. So, for example, I would imagine that people will actually try and get all 4 of them. So you could run one fit for each style you do. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm interested. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what it'll be, because I just think there's going to be a lot of these kind of things coming through. It does feel like there's quite a good bit of development for this game, even though, and let's move on to our next point, the review was terrible for this game. They basically just slammed it. Now, I'm talking PC Gamer here. Used to have a lot of respect for PC Gamer, but then I found out that actually you can buy a review from them. I don't know how true that is, but it seemed to me that they have a fair bit of... Let me explain. These are the kind of people that sit in Starbucks and write their articles with their hipster douchebag beards, and that they're wearing kind of ironic pumps from the 80s and so on. So these are those kind of people. They're kind of... if you talk to them in movie terms, they would say, oh, well, I'm never going to watch the Avengers movie because it's way too mainstream for me. And I like games that are a little bit indie that only I get, and therefore, because only I get them, that shows how intelligent I am, etc. And I think those kind of people, quite frankly, should be rounded up and murdered, because they just make everything bullshit. They just ruin the collective experience of these kind of games. You're never going to make a AAA game like this that everybody's going to like. This is the simple fact. There must be something about it, because a lot of people play it and a lot of people enjoy it. Yes, there's problems, but there's not massive problems. So many of the good things that were just, critical to the game, like the level of detail, the level design, the backstory, are all kind of forgotten. And I think they just looked at it being a sponge shooter that had issues, blah blah. And I think, well, that's fair enough, you know, if that's your opinion, then that's great. But I don't think that it warrants one of the lowest scores a AAA game has ever got, as far as I'm aware. It got 68%, which is shit. And then they go and give something like Rogue Castle Clasher 8-bit experience 92% because, hey, it made them laugh, and they understand it because they're cleverer than you. You know, you're reading their stuff. Why would they be wrong? And I think that's kind of what bothers me about it. PC Gamer are just kind of dickheads. They don't get it. They don't understand that not everybody is actually that bothered with them telling us how incredibly clever and interesting they are. I would rather get an unbiased view to say, was this game fun, yes or no? Now, what's then completely confounds their kind of very stupid review was the fact that they then go on to then do a full feature on it in the Dark Zone and how chilling it was and how scary it was and blah blah. Now, that could have been funded article, but if it wasn't, then it just shows again what massive hypocrites these hipsters are. Again, just another great example of journalism lately being run by people who have learned all of their experience from films, and they've probably never read a book in their fucking life. And there we go. Not that I'm bitter. I don't have any issue if they didn't like it. They didn't like it. I'm not bothered about that. But I think what bothers me is the fact that, again, I'm just a bit tired of this kind of endless. If it's mainstream, it's not good. And, I kind of get sick of this. It's like why everybody all of a sudden is gluten intolerant. It's why everybody all of a sudden at the moment likes mung beans. And it just means that nobody actually likes the good old-fashioned, this is the way things are, let's just do it. Everybody has to be different. Everybody has to have a story. Everybody has to have a fucking voice, including me, I guess. But at least I'm turning around and saying, this is a good game. I like it, and I think you'll like it. What a rant that was. Now, to be honest with you, I don't even know why I still subscribe to PC Gamer, to be honest with you. The last thing I saw in there that did make me chuckle was a 5-page spread on somebody from EVE Online who hacked an alliance and gave some information away. And as I'm reading it, I'm just thinking, God almighty, this is news? This is news? And I just laughed. A game that barely a few 100,000 people play. In fact, what am I talking about? A game that a few tens of thousands of people play who have multiple accounts. That it gets a 5-page spread about how immersive and interesting it is that somebody outside of the game switched off a forum. Bloody hell, that's just bullshit. I don't even know what the fuck was that about. I couldn't work it out. So, for me, I do wonder why I subscribe to some of these games at times, to some of these articles, if you like. I find that some of the best impartial stuff is from users, people who play the game, not people who are paid to play the game. YouTube, anybody who watches these kind of YouTube paid for adverts, you're going to get eye cancer if you do that. Seriously, you will, bro, because these people are being paid to like the game. Don't watch them. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.